Friends, how are you doing? I appreciate everyone being here. I want to talk about two stocks that I've recently been talking about, but I've been watching them like a hawk. One of them particularly I've been watching for a while now because of the relationship it's built with Nvidia. But they're starting to get a lot of attention. They're starting to finally get their day in the sun here, and a lot of people are starting to buy them up. And I still think there's meat on the bone here for these stocks, especially one of them. I think both of them are about to do better, a lot better, and even one of them today just ran here. So let's talk about I want to talk about Rich Tech Robotics first. I want to talk about this first. I I apologize. I was going to talk about this stock last week, and I was like, I've already talked about so many new stocks. I don't think people want to hear more about other new stocks. So anyway, if I would have talked about it, maybe someone would have bought it. I don't know. But this has been getting a lot of attention, obviously, because of what's just happened here. This is like NVIDIA week. Obviously, NVIDIA releasing quarterlies probably today when you're watching this video. If not yesterday when you're watching this video, who knows? But the whole market is waiting on NVIDIA, like we always do. That is it going to kill the market, push the market? Who knows? This, and Jensen came out, talked about robotics this week, all this kind of stuff. And, and I think too, a lot of what could be said about the future market is that there's always a theme in the market. Does that make sense? There's always a theme. Like years ago, when Trump first came into the market, when Trump first became president back in 2016, the big push in the market then was EVs. That's what it was. Everyone with $10 billion was starting an EV company. Everyone with money in the market was pushing into EV companies. I mean, I remember we were making stupid money in the market just off these EV companies that weren't making any money. Most of them aren't even around anymore. But they were just that was the thing. Then when Biden came in, Biden was all about green energy, just green energy. Now, obviously, towards the end of Biden's term here, it shifted more into this tech chip conversation, and we saw chips being last year really controlled the market. I mean, because Nvidia was really just pushing numbers like, what? They were just, AMD right behind them. Then, the ones that, the companies that actually make the chips are just reporting insane earnings. So why I say all that, there's always a theme in the market. And now the theme in the market this year so far has been security, defense, software kind of companies. That's why one reason Palantir is doing so well. I think robotics is coming. I think there is a future market here for robotics. I think there's a future market for quantum computing as well. I talk about that a lot. But, Rich Tech Robotics here, I think this is obviously new. I don't want to sit here and be like, this company's killing it. They've got you can look at their revenue and, it's a new company. It's new revenue, it's new everything, and it's a lot of what if it works out? What if something actually happens here? Now, saying that, more than likely what is going to happen with the future of this company right now, as they're reporting these very new up and down quarterlies revenue pathway they're in right now, it's going to be up and down. This is going to be a very up and down stock. This is not me telling you that you're going to be a millionaire off this company, off this stock. But what I am telling you is there are probably a whole lot of swing trades in here. There are a lot of swing trades, like today being one of them. So, watching the stock here, it has had an aggressive movement here, obviously, this week with all the news that's continued to break here, especially with NVIDIA. Now, I would highly suspect, and this is a total gamble, if NVIDIA comes out with face-melting quarterlies again here, that this company is the stock here is going to go berserk. This will probably easily push into a higher $3 to $4 range, more than likely. But that's a big, what is NVIDIA going to do? Because, NVIDIA has crushed quarterlies here the last 3 times, but 2 times especially, but they were good, but they weren't good enough to where the market was like, went crazy. The market just went, okay, well, that's pretty good. We like that. So if, even if NVIDIA just comes out with like quarterlies that are like pretty good, let's say there's somewhere they come out with a 48, whatever, the expectation is they're supposed to beat. Now, if NVIDIA comes out with quarterlies that are like $50 billion, the market's going to go like, holy crap. And the market will go crazy, and we'll end out the week strong here. Obviously, the Feds are talking at the end of the week here, but I don't think anybody's going to care at this point because rate cuts more than likely are coming. So, Rich Robotics here, I'm going to talk about the stock more, but I do want to say is that this is a construction stock right here. I think robotics are coming regardless into the future market here. And I think there's going to be a craze on this market. Now, depending on how long you're willing to wait, because there's more robotic stocks. I'm looking at a lot of robotic stocks myself. But this stock being so affordable, so attainable to most investors, it's appetizing, and people are looking at it, and more than likely, I would suspect that it's going to get bought up a lot more here, especially being attached to one of the biggest company in the world right now. So yeah, even today, just what a push from this stock. Very weird day in the market. This stock started the day at $2.30 some change, going to 240, and then just boom, baby, right here in this 315 zone. So yeah, just what can you say? It's a moment to capture, it's a moment to have right there, for what's coming. Talking about open door technologies here, obviously, this is being pushed around like crazy. This is just, people are pushing it. I fully believe, and take what you want from this. This is not me telling you to buy the stock, but this is something that, being in the stock market for a while now, you're probably agreeing with this and saying the same thing. I don't need you to agree with me, for God's sakes, but I do think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen here. With open door technologies here, more than likely this stock is going to be aggressively pushed going into September. Now, I somewhat wonder if, when the Feds talk here this week, if the report is like, if the report's bad, the market's going to go, we don't care. We want it to be bad because we want more excuse to have a rate cut. Does anybody else feel like that? Now, too, if it comes out and it's like, oh, it's pretty good, the market's going to go, great, we're going to keep rolling. So, why I say all that is because, more than likely, what do we know? We know that it seems like we're getting a rate cuts this year from the Feds. Now, open door technologies here, being attached, their primary bread and butter, housing, selling housing, AI, right there online, all this stuff, being very new, innovated company right now. They're getting all the eyes on them right now because, two, they're somewhat attached to tech very much. There's a lot of, they're in this conversation of tech. So I'm really, it's hard because I'm not really even comparing the stock to the actual company. There's a lot of that connected, but there's a lot of tentacles right there still connected, but still, open door right now, open here is still very much in this moment of sharks have it. It's FOMO. It's being pushed around. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There's money to be made with that avenue, 100%. Don't kid yourself. But even today, we saw the stock do, really good numbers. It opened up pretty high, but the past 24 hours has been, able to swing trade it. The highest we've seen here, obviously, was, just momentarily trying to get to the $6 range. If this stock can remain somewhere in this $4 and still touch $5 here this week, undoubtedly it's going to push into $6 here going into September. That is more than likely going to happen. So, if you're looking for a swing trade, this is probably going to be a really good bet for you if we start to hear more rumors of rate cuts. Now, obviously, the fairy tale story here that a lot of investors are looking for, if you're holding this stock the moment Jerome Powell walks on a stage and says, okay, we're going to do rate cuts, this stock will go freaking ape, SHIT. It's going to go crazy, 100%. Now, the curious part right now as an investor, as someone who may be swing trading it, what is the stock going to be here 2 weeks from now? Is this going to be a $6, $7 stock? Is it going to just kind of smolder around this, high $3, mid $4 range? Maybe $5. Like I said, I'm curious to see what the survival rate is going to be with this stock going into next week. This week, I think, until we get this conversation over with the Fed, see what Nvidia is going to do, it's hard to really judge what the overall market's going to do the rest of the week, because we just have these two pivotal moments in the market that are happening here in the next, days. So, I'm very curious about what's happening here soon. But the overall long term, if you're in the stock for the long term, I definitely think it's something to watch for sure. I am all about tech stocks right now. I am all about futuristic stocks. I'm all about things that are just completely new and revolutionary in the market. 100%. I love that stuff, and I've done well with that stuff. But I think in the short term, there's probably a lot of money for swing trading in this stock right now. And I know people don't like to talk about swing trading. I know there's a lot of people are like, I don't want to hear about swing trading. I want to talk about long-term investing. I think there's multiple conversations here with both these companies I'm talking about. So friends, listen, I want to wish everyone the best of luck. I think this is a moment in time where a lot of investors will do well going into the future here. They're both very interesting companies, 100%. And I think, put them at the top of your watch list if you're not investing in them, because I think these two stocks, the companies are going to keep coming up here in, conversation with a lot of investors because, what's attached to them. Friends, take care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.